What if I told you that there is a carnivorous plant that has a trap so powerful that it can literally rip its prey apart? You might think I'm talking about something monstrosity, something enormous, but you'd be mistaken. Today I'm going to show you a plant that is tiny and yet offers a powerful punch. What you're looking at down here is a bunch of different things that is not really going dormant, but the freeze has kind of gotten to it a little bit. But that's not why I'm here today. What I want to talk about are this, all that over there, and in here. That's not moss, some of it is, but those are actually carnivorous plants. This one in front of you is a bigger version, but then there are smaller and smaller versions right here. The plant I'm referring to is a Utricularia. It is very, very unassuming. Without a flower, it simply looks like some sort of marginal ground cover, unless you're talking about a larger variety like this longifolia here. But most of them are going to be tiny. And when I mean tiny, I mean about the size of a pea. Now, this variety is known as pubescens, but there is a ton of different varieties. There's actually some over here that are poking through. Utricularia are special for a lot of reasons. But the most special part about them is that their carnivory happens below the soil, and it boasts the most powerful, the fastest traps of any carnivorous plant in the plant kingdom. And it works by producing a little tiny bladders. That's why they get their other name, Bladderwort. And I'll see if I can find one here in a minute. And that little bladder has a trigger hair on the front of it. And when the tiny little insect passes by and hits that trigger hair, it pushes air out of the trap and then sucks in the prey. Now, people collect these for a couple of reasons. One is that they are very, very diminutive, so you can have a lot, but they produce beautiful flowers. They're tiny flowers, but they're almost like fairy garden flowers, and they are beautiful. And for the most part, they're an exceptionally easy plant to grow. So let's talk about what the care should be for these. Utricularia are actually very, very easy to care for. You can put them in pots like this. You can basically put them in just about any container that you want. They like a high water level. These are called terrestrials. There are some that are aquatic, and I'll pull some of that out in just a moment. But these are terrestrials, and they like a high water mark. And they like distilled reverse osmosis and or rainwater. And just like other carnivorous plants, you're gonna want to give them an inert soil. I tend to do 50-50 perlite and peat, and they do just fine. They can handle levels dropping. They don't need consistently high water levels, but they certainly will do well given a moist environment. Now, let's look at the aquatic variety. Here's another Utricularia known as a Callicifida, but that's not what I'm here to show you. What I want to show you is right in here. This lump of grossness is actually a Utricularia, and this one is known as Gibba, and it grows in it can grow pretty much subaquatic, but it likes aquatic in the water. And it will produce a ton of beautiful yellow flowers. Very easy to care for, and I kind of just leave it in there to help it grow along. But here's another Utricularia in here. See what I'm talking about? These beautiful flowers that sort of just pop up. Now, they're not all very tiny. This one right here is called longifolia. Now, it's from Brazil, and it likes it to be warm, and so even though this is Florida, it still gets cold enough to not make these leaves happy. But it gets its name longifolia from long foliage, and these leaves can get up to 2 feet long. and the flowers on it get about the size of a quarter. Now there's a lot of different variety of Utricularia, but for the most part, the ones people like to grow, especially if you don't have a lot of space, are these terrestrial varieties. Here's some more down there. You see how unassuming it is? You could just walk right past it. And if you didn't know what you were looking for, then you would think it was just some sort of ground cover. But it in fact is a carnivorous plant. Let me see if I can find a trap for you. Now you have to look carefully, but right about a little bit lower than dead center of the screen, you'll see these little tiny balls. Those are the bladders. And so they are itty bitty. This is actually a large variety. The other ones are very, very, very tiny. But these stolons, they're not actually roots, they're stolons, will produce a ton of these little bladders. And those are what catch the prey. So I highly recommend these beautiful plants. Here's a good look at one that is flowering profusely. I highly recommend them. You can grow them if you have a large area of growth, a small area. You can sort of just grow them as an addition like I have here. And while everything else is going dormant, they're still blooming better than ever. You want to give them pretty varied light. They don't really need a ton. I have them out here in a southeast facing area of the yard, but they do just fine. I try to give them a little bit of shade, so that's why I grow them in a little lower than some of my larger pots, but they don't really care all that much. If you do live in an area that gets super, super hard cold, you're going to want to protect them. But if you live in an area that's pretty temperate with the temperatures, like in Florida, they will do just fine all year round out in nature. I really hope that you pick yourself up one of these plants, as they are very fascinating. And the cool part is, a lot of the places like California Carnivores, when you buy other carnivorous plants, there's a good chance that you're going to get them in your collection. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and as always, like and subscribe and pass the word on as we try to get as many people as possible to collect these plants. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. I'll see you soon.